Echo is a new Plus MCU show. It just hit both Disney Plus and Hulu due to its being a TVMA show this past week. The show stars Alekwe Cox, hopefully I'm saying her name right, Maya Lopez Echo, returning from her short appearance in the Hawkeye series from a couple of years ago. In this show, Maya Lopez, following the ending of Hawkeye, in which she shoots Kingpin right in the face. She's trying to move on with her life, go back to her Native American roots in Oklahoma, as well as trying to basically take over for Kingpin, as she believes that there needs to be a queen running the show for now on. The show is 5 episodes long. The shortest episode is the finale, 36 minutes with credits. The longest episode is the first episode, which is 50 minutes with credits. Welcome back to a brand new TV show review here on Max Talks Movies. The first time I talk about a new show in 2024, Echo on Disney Plus. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell if you're new to the channel. I talk TV, movies, box office, and I do out of theater reactions. So please subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when those videos drop here on the YouTube channel. Comment down below. What are your thoughts on Echo non-spoilers? If you want to do talk spoilers, leave a spoiler tag, then backspace a couple of times and then go down so people who are coming for this review for a non-spoiler look can enjoy their non-spoiler talk on the movie, on the show. If you've seen it though, did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you think Disney Plus and Marvel should just be done together? Do you think we should get an Echo season 2? Where do you want to see Echo next? Let me know in the comment section. Like the video, the thumbs up button on the channel really helps the algorithm or YouTube. The more you guys hit that like button, the more that my video will be recommended to new viewers. So thank you so much for joining me for another review here on Max Talks Movies. So as I said, this will be a fully non-spoiler review for Echo. I'm not planning on doing a spoiler review. If you guys want a full-on spoiler review, let me know in the comment section down below. If multiple people want a spoiler review, I would gladly give you guys a spoiler review. But right now, I am very busy. And at the moment, I'm just going to stick with my non-spoiler review for Echo. And give my general thoughts. I'm not going to go into the ending. I will say beforehand, the 5th and final episode has a it's a mid-credit scene, so stay tuned for that. And as I said before I started watching this show, I had very low expectations. Echo as a character, I just didn't care about in the Hawkeye show. I think they completely misused D'Onofrio as Kingpin in Hawkeye. I didn't think Echo was a good enough character to be in a solo show. And then some really bad expectations because Disney Plus has never done this, dropping all the episodes of the season on one day. They're very much week-to-week shows, but dropping all the episodes, also only 5 episodes. It basically comes like 2.5-hour movie if you binge it all. Did not get me excited. So let's get to my thoughts. And my overall thoughts is that this show is an absolute mixed bag. There is some stuff that is quality in the show. I think the biggest standout of this show, of course, is our lead character, Alekwe Cox. Hopefully I'm saying her name right. Her as Echo. She's fantastic, and she truly is deaf in real life. And I like the authenticity of casting someone. Of course, she already was cast, but still casting someone like her. The authenticity of the culture. Cox is excellent in the show. And right away, when the first episode started, which by the way, I do want to say also for people who have not seen Hawkeye, you do not, I don't think, need to see Hawkeye to see this show. The first episode, which probably is the best episode of the season, is half a recap of what you need to know from Echo from season 1 and filling in those plot holes that were in Hawkeye with her character, that timeline, filling those in the first episode. And I really enjoyed the first episode, both recapping, also filling in those spots that I felt were missing from her character in the first season. So I think if you've never seen Hawkeye and you want to check out Echo, you can do so because the first episode gives you everything you need to know from the Hawkeye series into this episode. But Cox commands the screen, brings great emotion, vulnerability, and also a lot of charisma to this role. and she is fantastic. I would like to see her more in the MCU, maybe not in a leading role, but I will say the first episode, I was like, she could probably be the lead of the show. And I was never disconnected because Echo was a lead character of a TV show. I was enjoying Echo, the character, really Maya Lopez, the character. We'll talk about Echo in a second. Um, the overall cast had genuinely great chemistry. There's this family that Maya goes back to in Oklahoma. And the show has a lot of authenticity involving Native Americans, their culture, because the half the show is kind of like a family, kind of like a Kingpin drama show with Maya and Kingpin's relationship and her trying to run things. And then the other half is kind of this Native American aspect, both with her family as one half of that Native American subplot, as well as all of her ancestors, where we get a lot of flashbacks to her ancestors. Like 3 or 4 different ancestors get flashback openings in this show. But overall, as I said, it's a giant mixed bag. Cox is really good in the leading role. The family, they casted really well in the show, but it just feels like a missed opportunity, I guess. Like this show feels so weird to me because the action is hand-to-hand combat, which I really enjoy. Now, they're pushing this being the darkest, the most violent Disney Plus MCU show. And while it probably is like the most violent, it's not that violent. It's TVMA for graphic violence, but there really isn't any graphic violence. There's maybe like 1 or 2 scenes. This show felt so PG-13. And watching the trailers again after watching the show, I'm shocked they're pushing this as this dark, bleak, violent show that Marvel's never done before. And you've seen a lot darker in the MCU and a lot more violent in the MCU. I felt like, to me, there's a couple times you saw someone's like blood on their face and stuff like that. There's one shot with someone getting shot that I was like, okay, that makes sense why this is TVMA, but it just didn't feel like a rated R TVMA type show. Um, but the action is hand-to-hand combat. The best action scene of the whole series is in episode 1 with Maya and Daredevil. Now, I do want to say this right away. Daredevil is not in the show like at all. He's in like 1 or 2 sequences in the show. But the one sequence that he is in the show is in the first episode, and it is fantastic seeing Daredevil and Maya go at it. Fantastic choreographed action scene between Maya and obviously Daredevil. It was really fantastic. Again, I love Charlie Cox and D'Onofrio being brought into the MCU now as officially the Netflix TV shows are now MCU canon if you go to Disney Plus now. So I was happy to see Charlie Cox go at it with Cox. Great chemistry, and we didn't get a lot of Daredevil, but the Daredevil we got had a lot of fun. Overall, the action was very good hand-to-hand combat. Which is different from what the MCU is. Another pleasant surprise with the show is that the world is not on the line with the consequences of this show. It is under the Marvel spotlight, which you'll see in every intro, and it's about the grounded, more character-based storylines. And this movie is very much street level for the MCU. Very similar to kind of like the Ant-Man movies, where there's just not a whole lot that the universe has on the line. But I think it's a breath of fresh air for the MCU, where here we had Loki and Guardians and Quantumania, a lot of movies that felt like so much was on the line. It's nice, kind of refreshing to see a show not have world consequences come on the line. Now, while I say this, and that's a lot of pauses that I do want to say at the show, the combat, the performances, it is a rushed, mixed bag of a show. And the biggest problem for me is Echo getting her powers in the show. It's not a spoiler, it's being talked about in the trailers and everything. I hated everything about this. I understand what they were trying to do with Echo and her family legacy, but it just felt so distant and rushed. The powers themselves are not explained at all what they actually are. And I just felt it to be very cheap. And overall, the finale of this series is awful. I hated the last episode because I was kind of enjoying myself the first 4 episodes. Nothing great, but I was definitely enjoying myself. And the last episode is terrible. It's the shortest episode by far of the season. It's barely 30 minutes. And the biggest problem also with the show is Kingpin, the treatment of Kingpin. D'Onofrio, of course, is giving it his all, but Kingpin, who was a very calculated, quiet, but calculated villain, very powerful character in the Daredevil show, feels like a whiny, cranky old man in this series. And I just don't understand what they're doing with Kingpin right now. It's not going over well. They've completely misused him in both Hawkeye and in this show. And it does not, I know the next time he'll show up will more likely be in the Daredevil show, which he's already been announced that he will be doing, D'Onofrio. But man, this is a misfire for such an important character. Not just a lot of people like me who watched the Daredevil show and was really excited to see Daredevil, but Marvel, there's rumors that Daredevil will have big things to do moving forward in the MCU. And if that's the case, they need to get back to the Daredevil show roots of the character and not what they have turned him into in both Hawkeye and Echo. And you can just tell that the ending, they had no idea how to end the show because they're like, well, we want to have this big confrontation, of course, with Maya and Fisk. But we also remember that Fisk has to come back in the Daredevil show, so we can't kill him here. And the way they handle Fisk in the last 10 minutes of this show was awful. And it's rushed. I felt like the epicness they were trying to make you feel for her getting her powers completely missed the mark. Another, from a story level, there's a key relationship here between cousins Maya and Bonnie that they set up in the first episode really well. But Bonnie is barely in this show for the remaining 4 episodes. She's in there, and that should have been the key relationship fueling the show. Maya and Bonnie, I think that's her name, Bonnie. Hopefully, I'm getting that right. If I'm not, I'm very sorry. The cousin character from the first episode, oh yeah, Bonnie, played by Devery Jacobs, the adult version. Jacobs was really good. So was Cox. They had good chemistry, but they missed a golden relationship there that should have been there when Maya returns. Maya's not returned to this place in 20 years. And now we're getting this relationship, and it just feels rushed and put to the back burner to Maya having to fit into the MCU's plans, which is Kingpin. And I just think that this show is so frustrating because there are good elements. There are some good characters in the show. The action's a lot of fun with the hand-to-hand combat, but because they handle so many things poorly, another rushed finale, another character, a big-time character from Marvel, just completely misused. This is a mixed bag show for me. So overall, before I'm not going to keep diving into anything spoiler related, I am going to give Echo a 2.5 out of 5. I am going to go, sadly, 46% for Echo. It's a mixed bag. There's some good elements, and there's some really good elements, and there's some really bad elements in this show. So I fall right in the middle. But what's your thoughts? This is not my least favorite MCU show, but it's definitely nowhere in my top MCU show. So what are your thoughts on Echo? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys soon.